Let me begin today with a simple idea, one that changed my life many years ago. Your life doesn't change because of a lucky break. It changes because of a decision. One clear moment when you finally say, enough. No more drifting. No more waiting. Today, I begin the journey toward the person I could become. You see, every person in this room, every person listening has two lives, the one they're living and the one they're capable of living. And the distance between the two is not measured in miles or years. It's measured in choices. It's measured in philosophy. It's measured in discipline. I used to think circumstances shaped my future. The economy, my employer, the weather, the world. But here's what I discovered, and I discovered it the hard way. The major key to your better future is you. Not luck, not government, not chance, you. The moment that truth sinks in, the moment responsibility replaces blame, everything begins to shift. Decisions get stronger. Vision gets clearer. And suddenly, you're no longer waiting for the world to improve. You're improving yourself so you can meet the world on better terms. Now, today we're going to talk about something important. We're going to talk about the 3 rules that have taken ordinary men and women, people with no special advantage, no special talent, nothing extraordinary on the surface, and helped them build extraordinary financial futures. Some went from broke to comfortable, some from comfortable to wealthy, and some all the way to 7 figures and beyond. But they didn't get there through magic or mystery. No, they got there through philosophy, through habits, through the simple disciplines practiced every day. And I'll tell you this, these 3 rules are not complicated. In fact, they're simple, but don't confuse simple with easy. The simple things in life are often the hardest to do and the easiest to neglect. That's why the masses keep repeating the same year over and over, while a small handful, the ones we'll call the few, break out of the cycle and design a life that once seemed unreachable. The rules I'm about to share with you have nothing to do with chance. They have everything to do with becoming the kind of person success finds irresistible. So as we begin, let me offer a suggestion. Take notes. Don't trust your memory. I learned early on that a short pencil is better than a long memory. Write it down, capture the ideas, because these aren't just theories. These are principles that have been tested in the fire of real life for decades, across industries, across countries, across generations. And if you'll take them seriously, if you'll practice them with sincerity, you may look back on this very lesson as the day your direction started to change. So let's get ready. Today I want to show you what separates the few from the many. What separates getting by from getting ahead. What separates the person who wishes from the person who decides. Because once you understand these 3 rules, you'll never again say, I don't know what to do. You'll know exactly what to do, and better yet, you'll know exactly who you must become. Now, with that foundation laid, let's step into the first major idea. Now, before we get into the first rule, let's pause for a moment and address a question that puzzled me for years. Why is it that most people never reach the financial success they're fully capable of? Why do some individuals work hard all their lives, yet stay right where they started? And why do others sometimes, the very same age, same neighborhood, same opportunities, somehow break through and create a completely different life? It's a mystery only until you dig a little deeper. Once you do, it's no longer a mystery, it's a pattern. Let me tell you what I discovered. Most people aren't held back by the economy. The economy has been up and down for as long as history has recorded. Some people win in every economy, and some people struggle in every economy. So it can't be the economy. It also can't be the boss. If your boss had total control over your future, he would improve your paycheck every week because a better paid employee is a happier employee. No, the boss isn't holding you back. And let me say something else. It's not the government either. If the government had the power to make you wealthy, we'd all be rich. And we're not. So what is it? Where does the real problem hide? Most people never reach their financial potential because they carry the same philosophy into every year, the same ideas, the same habits, the same routines, the same excuses. And here's the truth. No matter how many years you repeat it, the same philosophy will always produce the same results. It can't do anything else. You can't plant apple seeds and hope for oranges. You can't live on old habits and hope for new wealth. Some people keep waiting for life to get better while using the same thinking that created their current circumstances. That's why Jim Rohn used to say, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Because the moment you get better, your skills, your attitude, your self-discipline, everything around you begins to improve. Your value increases. And the marketplace always rewards value. Let me give you another insight. Most people do not fail because they set their goals too high and miss. They fail because they set their goals too low and hit. They aim for just enough to pay the bills, just enough to get by, just enough to feel comfortable. And comfort has a strange way of turning into quiet imprisonment. Comfort convinces you to settle right before life was ready to promote you. And then there's this one of life's big traps. Most people wait. They wait for the motivation to show up. They wait for the perfect time. They wait for inspiration or clarity or confidence. But waiting is the enemy of wealth. Wealth doesn't come to the wisher. Wealth comes to the worker, the learner, the person who decides, I'm starting now, long before I feel ready. So here's what I want you to understand before we begin our journey into the first rule. Financial potential has very little to do with talent and almost everything to do with philosophy. How you think, how you learn, how you act daily. The people who rise financially aren't necessarily the smartest. They're simply the ones who change the philosophy that shapes their decisions. Once I learned that, everything opened up for me. Because if the problem is your philosophy, then the solution is also your philosophy. That means you're in control. And when you're in control, you can begin to rewrite your financial future. So now that we know why most people stay where they are, it's time to learn the first rule that helps you break out of the trap and move toward the life you truly want. Now let's begin our journey into the first rule, the rule that shaped my entire philosophy and turned my life around. If you were to forget everything else I say today, but remember this one idea, it would still change your future in ways you can hardly imagine. Here it is. Your income seldom exceeds your personal development. The first time I heard that, I didn't like it very much. I thought income had to do with circumstances, with luck, with the right timing. I thought income depended on what other people decided I was worth. But here's the truth. Your income is tied directly to the value you bring to the marketplace, and your value is tied directly to the person you become. That means if you want more, you must become more. If you want to earn more, you must learn more. If you want to go to the next level in your finances, you must go to the next level in your philosophy. Money doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to value. And value responds to growth. When I was a young man, I worked hard. Everybody in the factory worked hard. But at the end of the month, we were all still broke. And I remember asking my mentor, how can I be working this hard and still be struggling? And he said, Jim, you're working hard on your job, but you're not working hard on yourself. That hit me like a bolt of lightning. I had never considered that I could work harder on myself than I did on my job. He said, if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune. And I believed him. So I started reading books, listening to recordings, attending seminars. I started treating my personal growth like a job. And you know what happened? Everything began to change. Not overnight, no magic, but gradually, steadily, predictably, my thinking improved. My discipline strengthened. My value increased. And eventually, so did my income. Now, let me ask you a question. What would happen if your skills doubled in the next 12 months? What would happen if your communication improved? Your leadership? Your discipline? Your ability to solve problems? What would happen if your thinking became sharper, your attitude more resilient, your confidence stronger? I'll tell you what would happen. Your value would rise and the marketplace would respond. You see, the marketplace doesn't pay you for time. It pays you for value. If time were the deciding factor, we'd all be wealthy because all of us have the same 24 hours. But we're not paid equally because we don't bring equal value. So the question is not, how do I make more money? The real question is, how do I become more valuable? And that starts with personal development. Let me give you an example I've used for years. Imagine two people who work side by side. One earns $20,000 a year. The other earns $200,000. They work the same hours, in the same city, with the same opportunities. Why the difference? Is the marketplace unfair? No. The marketplace is simply saying, this person brings 10 times more value. It may be skill, it may be leadership, it may be knowledge, it may be resourcefulness, but whatever it is, it didn't happen by accident. They intentionally upgraded themselves. They invested in their mind. They prepared themselves to be worth more. And the marketplace said, we'll pay for that. So here's the key. Never wish your income were higher, wish your value were greater. Personal development is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's not something you do once and forget. It's something you build day by day, habit by habit, book by book, decision by decision. Because your income can grow only to the extent that you do. If you want to raise the ceiling on your financial life, raise the ceiling on your personal growth. Expand your skills, deepen your wisdom, strengthen your discipline. The moment you grow, your results cannot help but grow with you. That's the law. Now that we've laid the foundation of Rule Hashon, let's go one layer deeper. Let's explore what personal development really means and what it doesn't. Now that we've laid the foundation of personal development, let's clear up a few misunderstandings because this concept is often confused. Some people think personal development means reading one book and suddenly expecting their life to change. Others think it means collecting quotes, attending seminars, listening to podcasts, and then waiting for the magic to kick in. But let me assure you, personal development is not an event, it's a process. It's a steady accumulation of disciplines applied over time. When I first started my journey, I made the mistake so many people make. I thought learning alone was enough. I read the books. I filled notebooks with ideas. But nothing changed because reading is not development unless it becomes behavior. Knowledge that is not acted upon becomes entertainment. And entertainment, no matter how inspiring, does not change your future. So what does personal development really mean? It means working on the parts of yourself that the marketplace rewards. And the marketplace rewards clarity, discipline, consistency, and skill. The marketplace rewards the person who shows up early, who stays prepared, who keeps promises, who communicates well, who solves problems, who manages their emotions, who treats people with respect, and who brings more value today than they did yesterday. That's personal development. Personal development is not what you know, it's what you practice. It's the distance between your good intentions and your daily behavior. It's the gap between your goals and your habits. And the discipline required to close that gap is the very thing most people avoid. Let me put it another way. Personal development is your commitment to becoming the person your goals require. Because big goals demand a bigger you. That's why you can't take old habits into a new life. If your new life requires courage, but you keep practicing hesitation, your goals will move away from you. If your new life requires confidence, but you rehearse doubt, your opportunities will shrink. If your new life requires discipline, but you follow your moods, you'll repeat the same year again and again. And here's something important. Personal development must appear in your calendar. If it isn't scheduled, it won't happen. If you say, I'll read when I have time, you won't read. If you say, I'll exercise when I feel motivated, you won't exercise. If you say, I'll plan my goals when life slows down, life will set the pace, not you. One of the greatest lessons I ever learned is this. Your calendar is your character in numbers. Your philosophy shows up in how you allocate time. Your habits reveal what you truly value. If you want to know where your life is going, look at where your hours are going. So let me give you a simple formula, one that changed my life and can change yours. The formula is this. Each month, choose one new habit, one new skill, and one new discipline. Just one of each. Not 10, not 20, one. Because a big change doesn't begin with intensity, it begins with consistency. A new habit improves your routine. A new skill improves your value. A new discipline improves your character. And when your routine, your value, and your character begin to rise, your income cannot help but follow. That's the law of the marketplace. You bring more, life brings more. So remember, personal development is not a luxury for the elite. It's the foundation for anyone who wants their life to expand. And once you embrace it fully, you step into a rare group, the group that takes ownership, the group that grows on purpose, the group that leaves the excuses behind. Now that we understand what personal development truly is and what it is not, let's move to the second rule. Because becoming more is only the first half. The second half is creating a clear direction for where you want your new self to go. Now, once you've begun to work on yourself, once you've stepped into the journey of personal development, there's a second rule you must embrace if you want your life, your income, and your future to take on a new direction. And this rule, like the first one, is simple. But because it's simple, most people overlook it. Here it is. The 97% don't have a written plan, and that's why they struggle. So let me ask you a question. Where are you going? If I asked you your goals for the next year, the next 3 years, the next decade, could you show me? Not tell me, show me. Could you hold them in your hand? Could you hand me a sheet of paper that reflects the direction of your life? Because if you can't hold it, you don't own it. And if you don't own it, you won't achieve it. Most people live by hopes, by wishes, by vague intentions. They say, I want to be more successful, but they have no plan. They say, I want to earn more, but they have no plan. They say, I want to get in shape, improve my relationships, build a business, but their goals are floating around in their mind like clouds shifting, fading, disappearing with the next distraction. Let me tell you what my mentor told me. A goal that isn't written isn't a goal, it's a fantasy. When I first heard that, I didn't like it very much. I said, but I know what I want. And he said, Jim, knowing what you want is not enough. Life responds to clarity, not confusion. And he was right. The act of writing your goals is powerful because it forces you to define your vision with precision. It brings your desires from imagination into the physical world. And once they are written, your mind begins to work on them day and night, consciously and unconsciously. Let me give you an example. Suppose your goal is to earn more money this year. That's too vague. The mind can't work with that. But if you say, I will increase my income by $25,000 by December 31st, suddenly your mind becomes an architect. Suddenly it begins to ask how. Suddenly you begin to see opportunities that were invisible before simply because you now have a target. Here's something else. Writing your goals is an act of responsibility. Most people don't write their goals because once they are written, there is no hiding from them. They become a mirror. They become a standard. They demand action. That's why only the 3% do it. And that's why the 3% succeed. Now let's talk about another important point. Designing your life versus drifting through it. If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's. And do you know what they have planned for you? Not much. Maybe a paycheck. Maybe a little security, but not prosperity, not fulfillment, not wealth. Those things come only to the person who decides what they want and creates a plan to achieve it. So, what does a written plan look like? It's not complicated. It includes 3 layers. Short-term goals, the next 12 months. Mid-term goals, the next 3 to 5 years. Long-term vision, the next decade and beyond. Your short-term goals give you momentum. Your mid-term goals give you direction. Your long-term vision gives you purpose. And remember, the more detailed, the better. The clearer, the stronger. A vague plan produces vague results. A specific plan produces specific results. So here's the lesson. Don't trust your future to memory. Trust it to paper. Paper never forgets. Paper is honest. Paper shows you where you've been and where you're going. Now that you understand the power of a written plan, let's go deeper. Let's talk about how to build a plan that doesn't just excite you today, but guides you for the next decade of your life. Now that we understand why a written plan is essential, the question becomes, how do you actually build one? How do you design a plan that doesn't just look good on paper, but has the power to guide your life, expand your income, and carry you all the way to 7 figures and beyond? Well, the good news is that creating a powerful plan doesn't require a complicated system. You don't need a university course, a stack of binders, or a corporate level strategy. You only need to answer 3 simple questions, 3 questions that have helped ordinary people design extraordinary futures. And here they are. 1, what do I want? 2, who must I become to earn it? 3, What disciplines must I practice every day? Let's walk through each one. Question 1, what do I want? This is the starting point of all achievement. If you don't know what you want, you can't design a plan. Most people never ask themselves this question with seriousness. They know what they don't want. They say, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be overlooked. But life doesn't respond to what you don't want. It responds to what you do want. So you begin by defining the picture. What income do you want to earn? What skills do you want to master? What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of person do you want to be known as? Don't be afraid to think big here. Bold goals create bold behaviors. But don't stop at money. Write down the life. Because money is just one part of the picture. Your plan should reflect a life you're proud to live, not just a paycheck you're proud to earn. Question 2, who must I become to earn it? This is the question that separates the dreamers from the doers. Anyone can say, I want $1 million, but very few will ask, what kind of person commands that kind of value? Because money is not pursued, it is attracted by the person you become. If you want more, you must become more. If you want a bigger life, you need a bigger identity. If you want more opportunities, you need more capability. Ask yourself, do I need better communication, more discipline, stronger habits, a better attitude, more skill, more courage, a deeper work ethic? Your goals determine the size of the person you must become. A 7-figure life requires a 7-figure version of you. Not in fame, not in followers, but in discipline, clarity, and consistency. So your plan must include a becoming list qualities you must acquire, beliefs you must sharpen, weaknesses you must overcome. You don't get paid by the hour. You get paid by the value you bring to the hour. And value is built inside. Question 3, what disciplines must I practice every day? And now we reach the heart of the plan. Because goals give you direction, but disciplines give you progress. Daily disciplines are the grindstone that sharpens the knife. They are the tiny commitments that look insignificant today, but transform everything over time. Ask yourself, what habits will I practice every morning? What skills will I develop every week? What books will I read? What will I track? Where will my time go? What will I stop doing that keeps me average? Your life does not change by the year. It changes by the day. And a 7-figure plan is not a list of wishes, it's a daily checklist. The person who commits to a handful of disciplines and refuses to negotiate with themselves becomes unstoppable. Because remember this, success is not one big leap. It's 1,000 small steps in the same direction. How these 3 questions work together. When you answer these 3 questions, something powerful happens. You gain clarity. And clarity improves confidence. Confidence inspires action, and action produces results. Most people wander through life hoping it will turn out well. But you will not wander. You will design. You will plan. You will become intentional about the direction of your life. Because once you write these 3 answers down, you shift from drifting to directing. And the moment you take the wheel, the journey begins. Now that we've created the foundation of your plan, it's time to move to the next major rule, the rule that explains why success is predictable and why failure is predictable too. Now, let me give you one of the greatest lessons my mentor ever taught me. He said, Jim, success is not complicated. It's a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure, well, failure is just as simple. It's a few errors in judgment repeated every day. When I first heard that, I thought, it can't be that simple. But the more I observed people, successful people, average people, struggling people, the more I realized he was exactly right. It's rarely one dramatic mistake that ruins a life. And it's rarely one dramatic decision that builds one. It's the small things, tiny decisions, little habits, a few simple disciplines, a few errors in judgment. That's the difference. Let's break that down. A few simple disciplines. A simple discipline is something easy to do, easy to understand, and easy to begin. Reading 10 pages a day, saving a portion of every paycheck, exercising 20 minutes, writing down your goals, waking up on time, practicing a skill. expressing gratitude, reviewing your progress. None of these will make headlines. None of these will impress anyone on day one. But practiced consistently, they create a life of strength, momentum, and personal power. Here's the key. Simple disciplines don't feel powerful today, but they reveal their power over time. Success is not loud. Success is quiet. It whispers at first. It begins with a tiny shift in behavior, then grows into a new identity, then becomes a new lifestyle, and eventually produces a new destiny. The results show up later after patience, after repetition, after consistency. A few errors in judgment. Now, on the other side, what is an error in judgment? It's just as small as a discipline, but it moves you in the wrong direction. Skipping the workout, skipping the reading, ignoring the budget, blaming instead of learning, procrastinating instead of planning, repeating a bad habit because it's not a big deal. And the truth is, on day one, it's not a big deal. If you eat a donut today, nothing happens. If you don't read today, nothing happens. If you avoid the tough conversation today, nothing happens. That's why errors in judgment are so dangerous. They feel harmless. They feel invisible. They feel optional. But over time, little by little, they compound. And suddenly, 5 years later, 10 years later, you find yourself wondering, how did I get so far off track? The answer is one small error at a time. Why people choose errors over disciplines? Now, here's the great paradox. Disciplines are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. And errors in judgment are easy not to do, but they're also easy to fall into. So the battle is never about knowledge. Everyone knows they should read more. Everyone knows they should save more. Everyone knows they should exercise, plan, prepare, grow. The battle is between convenience and intention, between comfort and growth, between now and later. The average person says, I'll start tomorrow, and tomorrow turns into next week, and next week turns into next year. But the exceptional person, the one who rises, the one who breaks patterns, they say, I start today, I begin now, because they understand something the crowd never sees. Your future is hidden in your daily routine, not your inspiration, not your motivation, not your excitement, your routine. Why? This rule makes success predictable? Let me give you something astonishing. After working with millions of people, attending thousands of seminars, leading organizations, and watching lives change for decades, here is something I can tell you with absolute certainty. Success is predictable. Failure is predictable. All I need to do is watch your daily disciplines and your daily errors, and I can predict your next 5 years with remarkable accuracy. Because life does not respond to wishes, it responds to patterns. It responds to habits. It responds to small decisions multiplied over time. A few simple disciplines and your life elevates. A few errors in judgment and your life erodes. That's the math of destiny. Now, the good news is this. You can change the direction of your life with one decision and one discipline. You don't need to fix everything today. You only need to begin correcting the direction. A 1-degree shift today becomes a 100-degree transformation over the years. That means no matter where you are behind, stuck, struggling, uncertain, you can begin again. You can choose a few simple disciplines. You can abandon a few errors. And if you repeat that choice day after day, your life can become unrecognizable in the most beautiful way. Now that we understand this rule, we can move into the next one that explains why success belongs to the few, not the many, and how to join the few. Now, this next rule is one of the great turning points in a person's life. If you truly understand it, not just hear it, not just agree with it, but adopt it, you'll never view challenges the same way again. And here's the rule. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. When I first heard that, I almost protested. I thought, well, sure, I'd enjoy it if life eased up just a little. And my mentor said, Jim, wishing for an easier life won't make you stronger. But wishing to become better, that will change everything. Let's explore this. Life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. Some people spend their whole lives hoping the economy will change, that the boss will change, that the weather will cooperate, that their troubles will magically disappear. But life doesn't respond to hope alone. Life responds to skill, to strength, to wisdom, to character. The world isn't going to remove obstacles for you. It's going to demand that you rise above them. And once you understand that, life becomes far less frustrating. Because instead of waiting for circumstances to soften, you focus on increasing your own capacity. More insight, more discipline, more attitude, more skill, more resilience. Challenges don't shrink, but you grow. And when you grow big enough, what once felt impossible becomes routine. That's why the winners focus on becoming, not escaping. The crowd seeks relief. The few seek growth. You'll notice something interesting when you study people. Most folks pray for relief. Make my problems go away. Make things easier. Make the load lighter. But the exceptional, the 3%, they don't pray for an easier load. They pray for stronger shoulders. They don't ask for fewer challenges. They ask for greater capacity. They don't ask for the path to be smoother. They ask for better footing. Why? Because they understand that every challenge contains a lesson. Every setback contains a skill. Every difficulty contains a doorway to a higher version of yourself. If you remove the challenge prematurely, you remove the growth, and if you remove the growth, you remove the reward. The law of deservedness. Here's a great law to remember. You don't get what you want. You get what you deserve. Not in a moral sense, but in a practical sense. The marketplace doesn't pay you for wanting things. It pays you for becoming valuable enough to earn them. And deserve is a big word. It includes learning the skills, making the sacrifices, staying disciplined, showing up with excellence long after the mood has faded. So the secret is to increase your deserve level. And how do you do that? By improving yourself. If you want a better paycheck, become more valuable. If you want better opportunities, develop better skills. If you want better relationships, cultivate better character. If you want more freedom, practice more discipline. If you want more, you must become more, rising above the temptation of complaining. Let me give you another important lesson. Complaining shifts 0% of your future. Complaints give you comfort, but they steal your progress. Most people complain because it's easier than improving. It's easier to blame the company than build a new skill. Easier to blame the economy than build a new plan. Easier to blame the time than build new priorities. But complaining does not improve circumstances. It only worsens your mindset. So here's the rule. If something bothers you, fix it. If you can't fix it, outgrow it. But never stay stuck in it. The power of personal transformation. Here's the beautiful truth. Once you decide to become better, the world begins to open up. You start seeing things differently. You start listening differently. You walk into a room differently. And people notice it, not because you tell them, but because your presence changes. Better skills lead to better opportunities. Better discipline leads to better results. Better habits lead to better identity. Better thinking leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to better destiny. Life rewards the person who evolves, not the person who waits. And that is why you never want the easy life. The easy life makes you weaker. The disciplined life makes you stronger. And the stronger you become, the more life bends in your direction. You don't need circumstances to change nearly as much as you need yourself to change. Once you become better, everything becomes possible. Now that we've established this rule, there's one more lesson we must explore. One that turns potential into productivity, dreams into deadlines, and intentions into measurable results. Well, my friends, we've come to the end of this journey. And before we close, I want to leave you with a message that has the power to redefine your future if you choose to let it. All throughout history, there have been two groups of people, the many and the few. The many who wish and the few who decide. The many who drift and the few who design. The many who wait and the few who work. The many who hope and the few who commit. And the truth is, not much has changed. It's still the 97% and the 3%. It's still the crowd and the creators. It's still someday and today. But here's the great revelation of life. You get to choose which group you join. Not by luck, not by circumstances, not by talent, but by decision, because the greatest power you possess is the power to choose. You can choose discipline over ease. You can choose growth over comfort. You can choose plan over drift. You can choose responsibility over excuse. You can choose to become the kind of person who doesn't wait for opportunity but prepares for it. The future is not a mystery. It's a reflection of your daily habits, your guiding philosophy, and the choices you make starting today. Your new philosophy, let me summarize the philosophy we've built together. Everything changes when you change. A written plan turns wishes into direction. A few simple disciplines, practice daily, create success. You don't need life to be easier, you need to become better. Success belongs to the intentional, not the accidental. If you adopt this philosophy, you won't join the crowd, you'll separate from it. And once you separate from the crowd, something wonderful happens. Life begins to respond to you. Opportunities open. Ideas appear. People notice. Momentum builds. Confidence grows. And the best part, you begin to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. The few always think differently. Let me leave you with this thought. The few don't wait for motivation, they create it through motion. The few don't chase perfection, they chase progress. The few don't rely on emotion, they rely on structure. The few don't wish for a better life, they build one. The few don't ask, why me? They ask, why not me? And the few, those rare individuals who decide that mediocrity will not be their destiny, live lives that others admire, respect, and often envy. Not because they were lucky, not because they were gifted, but because they started, because they continued, because they refused to quit, because they built themselves into someone capable of extraordinary results. Your invitation to the 3%. So now the question is not, can you become part of the 3%? The question is, will you? Will you write your plan? Will you discipline your days? Will you challenge your excuses? Will you become better instead of wishing for easier? Will you finally say, this is my moment, this is my line in the sand, this is where the old story ends and the new story begins? Because the journey of transformation does not require perfection. It only requires decision and direction and daily discipline. Everything else unfolds naturally. The final word. Remember this. Most people won't, but you can. And if you choose, you will. You will rise. You will grow. You will separate from the average. You will build a life that reflects your highest potential. And one day others will look at you and say, how did you do it? And you will smile because you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't circumstance. It wasn't magic. It was choice, consistency, and the quiet daily disciplines that the crowd overlooks. That's how the few live. And now, that's how you will live.